Okay then, welcome back. Joined by a selection of experts in their field in relation to the budget that can help you out answering your queries. David Quinn from Investwise.ie and Colin Maxwell from paylesstax.ie. Both very welcome to us. Gentlemen, firstly to you, David, what you make of yesterday? Good, bad?
I don't think there was any huge surprises, Alan. I think we were expecting the income levies, probably not expecting the reductions in the threshold, but definitely middle-income families with children have been.
Okay, is it good for the country, do you think?
I think it's a good start. I was hoping that they would do a lot more on the expenditure side as well as the income side, but it's a good start. But they need to do a lot.
Where do you think they fell short, David?
I'd like to have seen them start to, really make some strong noises on the expenditure side. On the public spending aspect of it, and they didn't really do anything on that yet. So.
And Cathal, briefly, before we get to the calls, what do you make of it?
Well, it was, as everybody expected. We all have to pay more tax, unfortunately, going ahead. There are still plenty of tax reliefs out there that people can use and claim.
Okay, so that'll be the good news story of today, and we'll get to that.
The vast majority of people, let's be honest, Cathal, there's a big hit taken by families here, lower and middle income earners.
Well,
huge
there will be on the income levies and the health levies. They come off your gross income, and that's why the government are using them.
All right.
Simple to apply and simple to collect.
All right, let's get to the phones.
My point is, why don't they start with Fitzpatrick and the bankers? Get the bankers and arrest them and jail them for embezzlement, and then go with Cowan and Harney and then Ahern. Get them all, get the golden circle, and where's the 8 billion gone? Can somebody answer me that?
Hi, I'm just wondering, one of the gentlemen on your panel asked the question, what happens to people with personal guarantees against their debts? They're talking about developers, and it was just to basically knock to the side. I'm just wondering, like, for small businesses and for small developers, and you've got this this management company, what does happen to people with personal guarantees? Do the banks actually go after these people?
Right, let's go to our first model, to you, David. What have we picked out?
Well, I've picked out a couple on one income 50,000 and one child under 6. They have a 300,000 mortgage, which is probably slightly higher than the average, but gives an idea of someone who's maybe bought fairly recently. In this example that I've used, they've had the mortgage for more than 7 years, so their mortgage interest relief is gone. Now, in total, over a year, they're down €4,247, which is a big chunk of money in a year. And if a couple like that on a single income...
they're probably working more than a month per year for the government and not taking a penny themselves.
Yeah, it's almost over 8% of their income.
And so you haven't taken into account with that, Dave, whether they're heavy smokers, whether they drive a diesel car.
No, that's not being taken into account, and also they may be relying on some savings which are going to be eaten into a little bit more with the increase in dirt tax.
That 4,200, is that gross?
That's gross, yeah. Like that's out of the money that's not gross, that's the amount of coming out of their money they'll be taking home.
Okay, Dave, the average industrial wage in the country is 36,000.
Yeah.
Just with the levy alone, they're down just over €100 a month.
Yeah.
So over the year, that's 1,500, and that's before the mortgage interest relief, if that affects you, and the childcare supplement if you have a couple of kids under 5.5. So in and around 2,000 to 3,000.
Yeah. Like, personally, I think people are just going to, a lot of people who've been, their finances have been tight up until now, they're going to have to forgo any kind of pension contributions, any provision for that rainy day or the children's education. It's really just going to be about getting from month to month.
We had a caller who said she was going to get rid of her VHI. She wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, they're the kind of things that will now be seen as being luxuries that are essential to protecting people's lifestyles.
Carl, given the area of expertise that you're involved in, is there anything that the PAYE worker can look at to try and claw back something in terms of tax?
Absolutely. We have 6 simple budget beaters which will be available online to people if they want to email us through to contact us on our website. We're very happy to send it on to them. People are generally talking about big fancy tax avoidance plans. Unfortunately, with income levies and health levies, they apply on your gross income and you can't avoid them too easily. But there's loads of other reliefs that people haven't been claiming over the years, maybe because they never got around to it, maybe they never thought of it.
Well, let's hear them then.
One is your trade union subscription, your service charges, rent relief, medical expenses, a big one that a lot of people don't claim for, home carers tax credit, all these credits are unclaimed. There are something like 100 million unclaimed PAYE tax refunds due to people.
Carl, just the medical expenses one there. Can you claim your medical expenses on top of VHI claims that you make?
Yes, with the VHI you get at source. So the VHI give you your tax relief on your VHI premium.
But
And you get your
on the
tax
plan
relief on your medical expenses is on whatever the net cost of the medical expenses is to you after VHI refunds is what you get your tax relief on.
Because you can, depending on how many visits you make to the GP or the consultant or the
Exactly,
chiropractor or whatever,
yeah.
you can then claim extra on top of your VHI. You know, you put in
Correct.
your claim with
You put
all.
in your claim
So
to the
you can then
VHI.
go to the revenue again on top of that again.
Exactly, but it's on the net of the VHI cost is
Okay,
what you
the
get
net.
your tax relief on.
Looking at all the models here, David, the minister, the government said that they wanted everyone to feel a little bit of pain. Is it a little bit of pain for everyone, or can you see clear disparities between the lower and the upper on the basis of models?
Well, like the highest earners, the people on 300,000 a year, their income take home is going to be down 9%, you know, if they have children and if they fit the certain criteria. But 9% to someone on 300,000 a year probably means they're going to have to forego
an extra 2 holidays
some
a year.
luxuries, yeah, right. You know, they may have to trade down the car.
So was there scope for putting that up by another 5%, up to 14% for that level of worker?
Well, you know, that's a debate you could have in terms of are these people employers who are employing a lot of, you know, they're leaders in the self-employed industry that are, we want to incentivise them to continue to employ and continue to live here and continue to create wealth. So there is a debate there, but I do think that the lower paid have been affected very severely here, and
the middle income, they said, we're going to get the boot was going to get really stuck into them. That has transpired.
Yeah,
we are going to take the burden of it.
Yeah, it's averaging out 5 to 6% of their take home a year is gone now. That's on top of, you know, wages have been cut as well, and, you know, all the other ancillary issues that have happened. Well,
with our previous guests, we were talking about looking towards the latter part of this year. There's going to be another budget. We can conceivably imagine that these figures are going to get progressively worse, or will it be incrementally worse, or what's your best guesstimate on what could happen?
I think there'll be more indirect taxation in the next budget. A property tax looks very likely. You know, pension contributions, things like that will definitely be affected. More reliefs will be affected. He mentioned in the budget speech yesterday that he had avoided a lot of the reliefs because it was mid-year and it would be difficult to do it. He did affect some, like the hospital investment reliefs, but other reliefs will be affected. So I think the big impact in the budget in November will probably be on indirect taxation, which will affect people just as much probably as what we've had yesterday. But it won't be as visible and probably won't be as easy to understand, but can have just as detrimental an effect on lifestyle.
Dave, just in terms of those reliefs, particularly on pensions, he did make mention of people who are using that, they're saving the max to get the max. That's going to go. Yeah,
and I think what this is going to do is drive a lot of higher earners into using their companies to do contributions, and that's one way of avoiding this levy. Is they might see it as being a smart move now to reduce salaries below the 174,000 and make big company contributions. So I think that's going to be something he will really target in the budget. Probably couldn't do that now mid-year, but that's a big saving that's still there for people.
We spoke a little earlier about the low-income earner who's in and around on the minimum wage, the $8.65 an hour. Now that they are kicked into that, the threshold for the 1%, which has become 2%, has been reduced down to 15-odd thousand. Yeah. With everything taken from them now, it's almost a disincentive for them to work, between paying for childcare, paying for the clothes to go to work, paying for the car, the transport to get there. Little over $3.30 odd an hour we worked out here yesterday, extra than if they were signing on the dole, which is in around $2.10, $2.20 at the moment.
Yeah, we had made amazing progress over the last 10 years in Ireland in incentivising people to get to work, and you know, keeping the minimum wage, protecting them with the minimum wage.
Yeah.
But now I think we're slipping back to where we were, you know, only gradually in the early 90s, late 80s, where that incentive is being reduced.
Who was least hurt in this budget yesterday, Cathal?
Well, everybody, it's well spread out. Somebody earning 18,000 a year is down about €15 a week. Somebody on 150 grand a year is down about 500 odd euros a week. So it is reasonably spread out, and percentage-wise it's spread out, but the problem is higher earners can carry that burden easier than the lower earners, I suppose, and how you resolve that is it's extremely difficult.
We're getting plenty of text and people asking for advice on stuff. Can you please ask one of your guests to explain exactly how the 3 years preschool child scheme will work?
anyone got any insight into that?
I don't think they've announced it.
I don't think they even know themselves.
They've just tabled that that's
That's
coming
like
in
charging for car parking.
But it kicks off in January, so if your child is starting...
Yeah, but where are they going to get the expertise in order to get the individuals to run this, and where are they going to be run out of?
But you're going to have situations where, for some, they'll only get the benefit of it for 6 months.
That really does feel like it's been shoehorned in there to take some of the pain out of the early child care allowance reduction or abolishment.
I've just been laid off and want to know where best to go for advice on redundancy. I'm entitled to my annual 40k basic plus commission. I've worked for 4 years.
Well, redundancy, there's the NERA, National Employment Rights Association, have a very good website, and all redundancy rights are all explained in there. And local tax office will explain the tax implications.
Okay. I think the government are right to make a stand. I'm sick of the negativity by opposition parties. They definitely are no alternative as far as I can see. I'm affected by budget, but thank God I have a permanent job on my health. There is more to life than money, says she.
Okay, let's get to some more general text. I'm 35-year-old struggling to get on the property ladder, now struggling to pay mortgage. I drive a 13-year-old Mazda. The government took the money and looked the other way. That's from an angry caller. Minimum wage is tough to survive on and getting more expensive to live. What about under 20s? Half of dole. Did any politicians take a significant pay cut? There was pay cuts and expenses and all that announced. I agree that the public sector needs to have redundancies. I work in the voluntary sector within the homeless sector, and we work twice as hard as similar public sector departments with less pay and more output. Fact. The public sector needs to stop the greed and wake up. Private sector have taken the hard hits too. I'm a public sector worker, 50k, 8-year-old mortgage, 3 children under 4, childcare costs 25k a year, no choice but to give up work. And finally, do you think you could survive in Ireland on the minimum wage? I feel sorry for those who qualify from college and can't find a job and are expected to live on €100 a week.
Oh, Cathal, we're getting a lot of texts from people with children, or students should I say, just about to go to college or going to college down the line. Is there any sort of relief available for them if they're renting, if they're travelling from the country up to Dublin or Cork? Any sort of a break for them?
If they're renting property here beside college and have an income to get tax relief on it, there's no specific tax relief for children. The
student will get tax relief, or the parents?
If they have an income or their parents paying it, could claim tax relief.
Right, then fees is...
Fees, no, there's no tax relief for them.
That's going to be...
That's gone, and if they're bringing in fees, I presume there'll be no tax relief for them either when they bring them back in, unfortunately not. And what tends to happen, I find, parents would buy a property and they get their kids in, staying there, would sublet that property to a few people.
Right.
And maybe reduce rent or whatever.
You know, David, the reality here is that we all have to... We're never going to see what we've seen in the past, and we all have to just focus and readjust our lifestyles, our expectations, and that it's going to be pretty painful to do that, but that's the reality moving forward in this country, is it not?
Yeah, someone said to me yesterday, I think we've moved back to the year 1999 or 2000. And
I think it's further
we're
back
not quite,
that.
Maybe it is.
Try 85.
We're not starting all over again, but we definitely have taken a hit, and I think we all have to accept what were we doing back then. What money do we have in our pocket, and try and accept that and find a positive way to move forward. And
what is the expectation, though? I mean, we're told that it's going to be 5 years of pain, and hopefully we'll come out of it in 5 years' time. Yeah. What sort of landscape will it be then economically in this country, do you think?
I'm banking my positive attitude on the US coming out of this recession a lot quicker than we will, and we rely on them a lot. You know, we were hearing last year that we're closer to Boston and Berlin and all that kind of thing, and I feel if they come out of it, it will hopefully protect our foreign direct investment.
And the worry is if they don't come out as quickly as everyone anticipates, we're up the Swanee again.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I think we are an adaptable nation, and we'll find a way. But I think that activities that are happening in the States at the moment, and Barack Obama's changes are going to bring them out of recession. I'm pretty confident that's going to happen, and we will benefit from that. OK,
Cathal, could the panel tell me what the position is with career breaks? I'm in the public sector with 2 children under 5. My husband is also a public sector worker. We've been badly hit with this budget, and I've been forced to take a career break due to the high childcare costs. Am I going to be entitled to any supplements, as mentioned?
Maybe, again, all the detail on that has to come out when we see it in the finance bill, which follows up on the budget speech. But, you know, you should be paying less tax. Your bottom line net income might be better because you won't be paying creche fees. That's generally the encouragement on the career breaks.
Right, OK. But then you're
and you have a job waiting for you at the end of it. It's still a guaranteed job, so...
Yeah, OK. Do you have any more models there, Dave, of the typical families?
Well, yeah, well, like we can go down to I've talked about a couple on 50 grand. Maybe if we go down to someone on who's going to be even more affected, maybe say 25,000.
Right. Okay.
2 children under 5. They're down 1,250 euros a year, and that's before we talk about mortgage relief or anything like that. And I feel that's a very big percentage. And a couple on a single income with that kind of money with 2 children, they don't have any additional luxuries.
They're going to be living off the credit card.
Yeah, it could come down to that. Hopefully it doesn't, because we've built up such huge personal debts up until now that it doesn't come to that. But it could easily, and it's not.